Okay, welcome everyone to this work health and safety meeting. There are a couple points that I want to cover out of this meeting and some training outcomes. So following on from the incident that we had in the fire drill where Jeff had slipped on some water and hurt his wrist and didn't report the incident to anyone where he should have. There was also another incident where Ryan had seen the water coming out of the water dispenser but didn't take on the responsibility of getting it cleaned up. And I also want to address the issue where Jessica had mentioned that she didn't receive any in training at all in regards to work health and safety. And lastly, I want to address Anita's point where she had made some negative comments and had said to people not to take the drill seriously because it was only a practice drill. So I just want to remind you guys all of how important it is to keep everyone safe in a real emergency and that everyone is prepared and trained up, as it is actually a legal requirement on both us as an organization of the Turf Club, but also a responsibility of yourself as an employee of the Turf Club. So we take it very seriously. Now, at the end of this meeting, again, I will be going through with all of you, so Jeff, Ryan, Jessica, and Anita, on some further training that you need to carry out as an impact of what's happened with this. Okay? So let's get into the presentation. Yeah.
Before we start, may we please see you on the...
Okay, everyone. So welcome to the Australian Turf Club. A little bit of information around us is that we pride ourselves on being the driving force behind the sustainability and growth of racing in Sydney. We offer the world's most desirable and exciting destinations for thoroughbred racing. Now, going into what we're going to cover today in this meeting, the contents are the importance of this induction, your rights to work health and safety and your responsibilities as an employee of the Australian Turf Club, Work Health and Safety Acts, Regulations and Code of Practice, and how this trinity is working in conjunction to provide a safe work environment for all. We're going to show you how to identify hazards and risks, performing correct manual handling procedures, and also on our emergency evacuation procedures. We're also going to cover the importance of consultation in the workplace, specifically related to work health and safety. We're also going to show you some examples of common hazards here at the Australian Turf Club and in the hospitality industry, and also how to report on these issues and how to control these risks. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Susan to present slides 3, 4, and 5. So take it away, Susan.
Awesome. All right, so the importance of this induction, your rights to WHS, and your responsibilities as an employee of the Australian Turf Club. This induction is to raise awareness and educate all employees of the ATC, about work health and safety and your rights and responsibilities. This will ensure that you are aware of the safety protocols, potential hazards, and proper procedures, ultimately promoting a safer work environment for all ATC employees. This knowledge helps prevent accidents, reduce risks, and creates a culture of workplace safety. Did you know every year in Australia, workplace accidents result in over 500 deaths and 600,000 compensatable injuries? Pardon me. Workplace accidents, injuries, and sickness cause personal pain and suffering, financial loss to employees, and organisational costs. So this is just some statistics from Safe Work Australia on serious injury claims from the years 2022. So we've got 40% were musculoskeletal or ligaments, 16% were to do with, back strain, so ideally to do with manual handling and heavy lifting. And then we've got 15% to do with your cuts and abrasions and possible, well, even amputations, believe it or not. So that's just some statistics they found. Excellent. Alrighty. Now this is a little small, Alex.
Sorry.
So the Work Health and Safety Act's regulations of code of practice. This is and there's some links in there for you to follow. The WHS regulations are they're based on the Act and provide some specific details on how to follow the legal rules outlined in the Act. It explains the greater detail about requirements and Australian standards related to different areas of work health and safety. And of course, there's the codes of practice, which are also very important as they offer guidance on how to achieve the standards set out in the WHS Acts and regulation. Codes of practice cover specific industries on hazards and give practical advice on safety measures and risk management. So this trinity creates a system to follow which the Australian government has outlined and provided to create a system for employees and employers to follow. So to recap and summarize that, all these are very important legal obligations that we all do need to adhere to. Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Now I will be continuing on from the next slide, so covering how to identify hazards and risks. Now, a hazard is anything that could threaten the health, safety, and welfare of anyone in a workplace. A key step to managing work health and safety is to identify potential hazards. After you have identified a hazard, you can assess and manage the risk using control measures. If you notice a hazard, always report it. Check with your manager about the reporting process if you do not know how to do that. So in this slide, you can see some examples of some very common hazards here at the Australian Turf Club. Now, one is wet floors. So a wet floor is a slip hazard, and a solution to avoid hurting yourself from this would be to place a wet floor sign and to mop the water away. So just going back to what happened in the fire drill here, where Jeff had injured himself because of a wet floor hazard, this is important that we understand the correct solution would have been for Ryan, who saw this wet hazard and puddle of water on the floor from the water dispenser, to have put a wet floor sign and to have mopped it up himself, or to have ensured that whoever was responsible for cleaning it up got it done right away to avoid a big hazard where a lot of people during the fire drill would have to have walked across that water, and the ramifications of that could have been a lot worse. Now, another problem I would like to address is steam burns. So at the Turf Club, steam burns can be quite a common issue of a hazard. So, dealing with a lot of glassware in the workplace as a bartender, we need to ensure that when we use the glass washer, we allow the glassware to cool before we touch it to avoid burning ourselves. So just ensure that you open the door of the dishwasher, allow the steam to escape, and do not touch the glassware until it is cooled down to prevent burns. And lastly, a very serious injury, and going back to the statistics on slide 4, where we have in 2022, 40% of traumatic joint and ligament and muscle tendon injuries were sustained. So going back to this Safe Work Australia statistic and how it applies to our workplace here at the Turf Club, it's a very important that we have correct manual handling procedures. So we need to make sure that we're bending our knees when we're lifting these boxes of beer in the cool room, as you can see in the picture provided in the slide. We need to make sure that we're bending our knees, keeping a straight back, and we're not twisting, and we're also ensuring that if the item is too heavy, that we get help or we use a manual handling aid such as a trolley. Now, there is further training on this in the links provided in the slide if you wish to do further training covering those points. So moving on, manual handling. So safe manual handling training and techniques help prevent injury and risk. When lifting, always follow the below. Bend your knees, squat, and have a straight back. Use manual handling equipment, which can help, such as a trolley. Don't lift heavy items alone. Don't twist your body. Lift as a team if you need to, and use your leg muscles, not your back. Think before you lift. Plan your lift. Remove obstructions and keep your load close to your waist. So here are some images of how to do manual handling correctly in the bottom there. There are also some steps and also just an example of a trolley. So moving on, we have some instructional videos which you can watch after this training course if you wish to do some further training covering this. Now, I'm going to hand it over on to Ryan to present the next slide, which will be covering emergency procedures. So take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, Alex. So these are some emergency procedures which we have in place. There's a fire evacuation procedure. So when the alarm sounds, you leave immediately by the nearest exit, and you proceed in an orderly manner to an assembly point and remain at the assembly point until all clear is given. There's also the violent intoxicated customer procedure. So that's just dealing with customers that might be drunk or had too many drinks and how to deal with them. There's also the first aid and medical emergency procedure, which follows the steps DRS A, B, C, and D. So D being dangerous, R responsive, S safe for help, A is for open airways, B is for normal breathing, C is for start CPR, and D is attached defibrillator or AED.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like I mentioned before, it's an emergency fire procedure, fire evacuation procedure. On hearing the alarm, immediately stop activity and secure personal valuables. Follow directions from the fire wardens and emergency control staff. Evacuate immediately to the emergency evacuation point, which is the P4 car park on James Roos Drive. Now some photos in the next slide. We're coming to the P4 car park assembly area.
Oh, pardon me.
Yep, that's the picture right there of that area. Now call 000 and report in detail the fire and where it's located for the firefighters to know. Provide first aid to those who need if qualified to do so. Yes, like I mentioned, yeah, that's just a picture of the site, Russell Gardens, and the emergency area. So a drunk and violent customer, or drunk or violent customer, violent drunk customer procedure. Inform security and your supervisor. Supervisor needs to ring 000 or physically speak to the police officers on duty at the venue. Avoid any confrontation or contact with the drunk customer if possible, and awaiting security or police to take over. There's also the training video below in the link. You can find out more information.
Okay.
So the first aid medical procedure. First aid medical emergency procedure. Areas of medical emergency are allergies, seizures, burns, cuts, sprays and strains. You can find out how to treat and handle each type of emergency in the training video links below. There's links there, and you can assess the situation and ring 000 in an emergency.
That's really awesome because that's relating back to that statistic before of 16%, isn't it, Alex? So that's really good information.
That's right.
On the job routine, team training and how to report incident. Before shift commences, the team leader will run through the first day information, such as where toilets are located, fire stairs, fire hose, first aid kit, and steps to report an incident and hazard. Each food and beverage outlet will have an incident report booklet to complete if an incident occurs. The team leader will identify potential hazards and do a walkthrough of the area with employees before the shift starts, and the bars and food outlets open to customers. When in doubt, or if you wish to understand the process, please reach out to your team leaders or area managers. It's important in your duty as an employee that when you see a hazard, act right away to control the safety of those around you and yourself. Take ownership and help raise team briefings. Team briefings are short meetings before shifts to allow employees to address any concerns, as well as to understand the work event for the day and the clientele. We would like your engagement and how we can improve, and in order for us to grow, we must strive for improvement always. If you wish to provide feedback or would like to raise a concern, please email our employee feedback team with the email address there. Safety is everyone's responsibility.
Very important point.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can report to Steve Willis, WHS manager, and his mobile number there.
Okay, thank you for presenting the slides, Ryan, and thank you, Susan, for also presenting your slides there. Now, just covering up on some incidents, and I'd like to go through further training to be conducted. So, to summarize what we've done through this meeting, I want to ensure, Jeff, that you have the further training of knowing how to report an incident. So going back to the slide there, we need to make sure that if we're in doubt, that we escalate our issues and we report it correctly to the team leader or managers when applying it to the Australian Turf Club. Now, Jessica, I will ensure that you are comfortable with this meeting and course and that you understand the contents. Was there any questions at all that you had, Jessica?
Well, not at the moment. My main concern was that I didn't receive any training before I officially commenced duties at the Australian Turf Club. So, no, I'm happy with all the information that's been presented thus far. Thank you.
Okay. So after this slideshow in our meeting, I'd like to ask you, Ryan, what action would you take when reporting an incident?
I understand now that I should report it from the water leaking to the dispenser to a colleague or manager, and then an incident report should have been documented and completed.
Okay, yes, that's correct. It's important and the legal requirement to have any incident recorded in case we need to refer back to this incident in further detail. Now, I want to make sure that going into the incident where Ryan Edge. Now, after this slideshow, what action should you have taken when seeing the water spilt on the floor, knowing that during the fire drill, many people could have slipped over and fell? The consequences could have been a lot worse. Look at what's happened to Jeff's wrist.
Yes, firstly, I'd like to apologize to everyone, especially to Jeff, as I could have prevented the incident from happening by cleaning up the spill when I saw it, and alerting a colleague that I'd be late in getting out of the building during evacuation due to cleaning up the spill. Like, during the fire drill, I should have informed the chief warden that I'm still on the floor and that if I'm not out by the time that everyone else is.
Okay, thank you for that, Ryan. So I'm glad that you understand now of what action you should have taken during the drill when you saw the water over the floor. Now, I'd like to take it over to Jessica. So, Jessica, I understand that you've highlighted that you had not received work health and safety training, and so this is your first introduction to this course. Do you feel confident and comfortable with our procedures? Do you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you for this very detailed induction. I'm now able to be made aware of, the potential hazards at the Australian Turf Club and how to avoid injuring myself, as well as knowing how to report and who to report the incident to.
Okay, thank you for that, Jessica. And now over to Anita. After this training induction, do you now understand how important it is for our organisation to conduct training in an emergency evacuation and its meetings? It is a big responsibility for both of us as an organisation, but also you as an employee. Safety is everyone's responsibility.
Yes, I apologize for my comment during the drill. That was inappropriate. I shouldn't have told everyone to ignore the drill, as it is important that everyone follows it from a legal perspective, a legal organisational requirement, and also the responsibility as an employee of the Australian Turf Club.
Okay, thank you, Anita, Jessica, Ryan, and Jeff. I'm glad that you understand now, after this course, what you should have done in case of an emergency happening again and how to avoid these hazards. Thank you all for participating in this meeting. That now concludes the meeting. Thank you and have a lovely day, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having us.